kitchen today for my random pick of Close My Eyes and Pull from my 80s vinyl. I have Husker Du going in the background, so I hope that doesn't get too loud or distracting, but I think it'll all work out. Today we are doing something kind of, well, again, something I think is fun. I hope you do. My friend Christy a while back suggested that I do something about boning a chicken. I don't know if that was her form of humor, but it got me thinking of not doing something on boning a chicken, but doing something somewhat related, which is spatchcock. If you don't know what spatchcock is, it's essentially when you take a chicken, or you might be able to do this with other forms of beast, I don't know, but essentially you slit it down its back, I think it's its back, and you kind of splay it all out, like splayed, actually I think it's splaying this way, but anyway, you split it down its back and you open it up so that you can lay it flat. And the reason that's important the reason it's good is it makes your roasting time really quick. It also provides for really even cooking. And there's a technique that I love to do that my husband tipped me off on. And it's kind of a variant of chicken under a brick, but I do it with cast iron pans. I do this technique with 2 cast iron pans, one slightly smaller than the other. It doesn't matter if the smaller one is circular or square, as long as if you were to nest it down into your larger pan, it can sit down into it. So what we do for this technique is I heat both pans on the range. The larger one is kind of medium low, whereas the smaller one is kind of medium high. And I put a little olive oil in the larger one. Now, I don't put olive oil in the smaller one, and that is because the smaller one is actually going to be, the chicken is going to end up in between the big one and the bottom of the little one. So there's nothing food-wise that's going to go in there. So we're heating it up. I get my spatchcock chicken pre-spatchcocked from Trader Joe's. It comes pre-brined and pre-marinated, so I'm not even sure of really technically the difference. But what I do know is when I get a chicken that is pre-spatchcocked, that means I can put it in the oven, it's all ready to go, and it will be done and delicious in an hour. So for me, it's a lot easier. If you want to spatchcock your own bird, knock yourself out. If you have a good pair of kitchen shears and maybe a whatchamacallit, a sharp knife, or I'm thinking hatchet, but that's not a cleaver, if you have a cleaver. You can do it, and then you can also keep, for example, the backbone to make stock with. You can also possibly upgrade your quality of bird, because when you buy something prepackaged from Trader Joe's, you have no say really whether that bird is free range, organic, whatever. So feel free to do your own bird. Also, there is, it's a value-added product when you buy it pre-spatchcocked, and that means you're going to pay more. For me, the ease is worth it, but also consider it's not only more per pound than just a chicken, but a lot of that weight is the liquid, the brine, the marinade. So liquid is heavy, so you're paying for a lot more than if you would a regular bird. Okay, my pans are just about smoking, and that's how I want them to be. So all I'm going to do is I took my spatchcock bird out of the wrapper and I laid it on a plate because it's easily launched into my frying pan. And I am going to simply help it in. Ooh, you should You hear a nice sizzle. At this point, the handle of the top one might be hot. If it is, use something like this. And all you're going to do is take this and put it right on top of your bird. Now, when I put my bird on the plate, I drizzled it with a little olive oil. That will ensure that the top will not stick. Okay, remember to turn off our flames. And now this baby is going to go in the oven. But guess what? I planned ahead. So an hour ago, I put one in the oven. So let's see what it's like. All right, so I'm taking this one out. I'm putting this one in. I like to roast my spatchcock for about an hour at convection 400, but it really depends on your size of bird too, and it's always nice if you let it out on the counter to come up to room temperature a bit before you put it directly in the oven. So those are your variables. All right, let's see how we did. This is exciting. Beautiful. Okay. So realize that the bottom of your small pan is going to be a little bit dirty and it will need to be cleaned. And what you end up in your large pan is a beautifully browned, gorgeous, evenly cooked spatchcock chicken. Now, I'm going to put that on a nice clean plate, and I have a bit of advice. So, here we go. This thing should lift up quite nicely. And if you can see, it's so nice and brown. This baby here is a beautiful caramelized lemon slice. So the Trader Joe one gets marinated in some lemon juice with some lemon slices. So that's a nice touch. So here's a tip for you. So the top pan, the bottom of the top pan should clean up very easily. But the bottom has all of these drippings. And the Trader Joe marinade has a lot of natural sugar in it because it's got some orange juice. So what happens at these high temps is all of these drippings, the sugar gets hot enough to kind of become candy-like, like a lollipop. And you do not want a candy-coated pan. So as it cools, the pan is going to get coated with a pretty nasty, sticky layer. So it is a lot easier if you simply scrape away these caramelized drippings when you're letting your bird rest a little after it came out of the oven. So you should be able to take out about like that much, and that will make your cleanup so much easier. Now, if you forget to do that, which I have done, you have two options. You can reheat your pan on the stove top and add some water to the top, and that should kind of melt and dilute your sugars. Or you could put your pan back in the oven for a little bit and just loosen it up. So that is the secret to lovely, crispy, evenly cooked spatchcock. Once it's rested a little bit, you can easily cut it into parts. I would not suggest carving the meat off, only because you really want that beautiful caramelized skin to be edible and served to your diners. And if they don't want to eat the skin, that's fine, but you don't want to separate it off for them by carving it. Plus, it's a little bit confusing as far as a roadmap of what's where because of the flattened out layout of your bird. So it's usually very easy to simply separate out parts and serve it on a platter. Now, we've got our music credits done, we've got our technique done for our spatchcock, and so here's my random little life tip. If you get toward the bottom of your mustard jar, and if your mustard doesn't come in a jar, if maybe it's a little more yellow and it comes in a squeeze bottle, you know who I'm talking about, Dad. Then we've got other issues, but if your mustard comes in a jar and you get toward the end of your jar, instead of scraping out that last bit, just use it as an opportunity to make a really nice mustard vinaigrette. Take that very jar, throw in some lemon, throw in some garlic, salt and pepper, olive oil, some vinegar, whatever you want, and then just shake it all up and it should become a beautiful mustardy vinaigrette. That is not my technique that I developed, it's just something that I heard about, and it's something that I practice because why not? Okay, that's all we got for now. Hoping everyone is doing all right in their pandemic times and enjoying spatchcock.